If you're a business owner, you might not realize, but there is often a gap between what you want from your business and what you're thinking about every single day to get what you want. And that gap, if not addressed, means that you can end up drifting away from your goals. I'm going to use the board behind me to explain that, and I've already sketched out a business structure that should match something that fits your world. And I just want to let you know that I've been helping business owners for about 35 years. Nearly every business that I've ever worked with has been some sort of family-run business or solopreneur. I've done some corporate stuff. I don't really like the corporate world. The politics are different. The goals are different. The drivers are different. But when you're running your own business, whether it's on your own or with close family members or good friends, your thinking and driving of that business is completely different. And sometimes that's also a gap between what you think it should be, because you're comparing it to a corporate world, and what it can be in your world. So I'm just trying to help you understand where the gap is, because it's often hidden and people don't see it. And if you can see where your gap is, you can perhaps make some changes to your actions. And if we can change some actions, we can change some results. So the mission is to identify the gap to change your thinking, identify the actions to change what you do, which will lead to a different set of results. Now, I can't guarantee your results. I don't know your figures. I don't know your data. I'm doing this as purely as an exercise to share with you what I see regularly with the conversations that we have with our own clients and also myself. I do this myself. And the reason for that is that when you get up in the morning and you head off to your place of work, wherever that may be, whether it's at home or an office or a factory or wherever you go with the intention of dealing with the things that are happening today, tomorrow, this week, this month. We're running in a short time frame in our minds, because if we said, hey, here's the list of work you have to do for the next 5 years, it's complete overwhelm. I can't worry about what I need to do in 3 years' time. But as part of my goals and my thinking, as part of my vision for the future, I kind of need to know where I want to be in 3 years' time, 5 years' time. I need to know which trajectory we're on. I need to know what path I'm heading for. Because if I don't, the work that I do this morning, the work that I do this afternoon, won't lead me to that direction. If you think about how, if you're off track a little bit and you keep going further down the line, 5 years down the line, you'll be completely missed your objective. You're in a completely different direction. And this is what I see when business owners look at me, and we've done some accounts, and they look at the results and go, I've worked hard again for another year, and that's the results. I was kind of hoping for more. I was expecting to get more. And then you're being bashed by the economy, and your vision of where you wanted to be, you didn't hit anyway because of the natural gap that you will have. And then there's a further gap because of an outside influence that you didn't even plan or didn't even understand. And that is where we've got to try and close that gap. So let me just explain to you the process of a typical business, how I would run a typical business and how we recommend to our clients. And then we'll show you where that gap is likely to fall, because when you see it, you might have an aha moment and then go and fix things. So at the beginning here, we have our marketing process where we're attracting people to our world. We're doing all sorts of marketing campaigns, whether you're posting on social media, whether you've got specific campaigns, mail shots, email campaigns, whatever you are doing to attract people to your world, however much you are doing, will bring people to your world. And there is a natural funnel of people coming into your world. Maybe people phone you and therefore we take some details. Maybe people email you. Maybe people fill up a form. Maybe you exchange business cards. Maybe you connect on social media and you follow up that way. Either way, you're attracting these people to your world. Now, what we recommend is that you should have a filter before you get to the sales process. And that filter is based on your ideal client. And you've probably heard this from all sorts of marketing gurus, that you should have an ideal client. We also believe you should have the opposite of an ideal client, your not ideal client. You need to know both of these two stooges, if you like. You need to know your Alex and your Chris. They're neither male nor female, but Alex is the perfect client that you would love to have in your business, because if you have perfect clients, when you run your business with great clients, business is easy. If you run your business and you've got crap clients, you've got a bunch of Chris's that come through, you will find that running your business is hard work. Hands up all those who've had a difficult client to deal with. Yeah, we all have, because the filter system isn't enough. You allowed the crappy client in the first place. All right. A lot of people find that tough to deal with, but that's how we help people understand that if you want to run a really great business with really great clients and customers, we don't let the crappy ones in the first place. So do the research, which then changes your whole marketing approach, because you're going to only attract the people that you want to attract, right? Then when you actually allow people to step through the door, to have that sales call, that sales meeting, whatever that process is, to say to people, buy my stuff, all right, the sales process should be a whole lot easier. Because if you are stood in front of your ideal client, think about a client that you've had in the past. If I had 10 of those, life would be great. Think of one of those, and you present your offer to them, the sale should almost be nice and easy, because they want it anyway. They fit your profile. You like them, they like you. It should be more a case of, when do we start? And also the price disappears as well when you can demonstrate what you do is exactly what they want. It eliminates so much friction. So we say at the beginning here, when you're going to sign somebody up, get them to pay you. Get them to pay you up front before you even start. That will challenge some people. Can't do that in my industry. Yes, you can. I've done it with so many businesses over the years, where people get their clients to pay up front, including major national worldwide corporate organizations. One of my clients won them as a client and said, great, ready to sign up? They said, yes. And the customer wanted to give us 120-day terms. We said, no, you pay in advance. And we went backwards and forwards, and we had to have a special agreement for them to do that. But because our client was delivering what they wanted, and because the relationship was good, they agreed to pay in advance, despite the fact they don't do it with anybody else. So it is possible. Now, when you're paid in advance, the money, of course, goes into your accounting system, and so does the sales invoice, ready to go. Then you get on and deliver. And you might have a process of contracts and documents and specifications at the beginning. So you might have some documentation to do, and then you're going to deliver your service or your product, represented here by a van for deliveries. I don't know what it is you do, but we're going to deliver our service to our customer. You might also have a team of people that help you do that, a team of people who you employ, some subcontractors, and now, of course, we've got AI agents to help us do some of that. They're all part of the team of people that help you deliver the product and service. Now, when you've delivered the product and service, there should be some sort of checklist to say, I said we were going to do that. We did this. Did we do it? Yes. And that checklist is your information to go to your client, who signs it off to say, great, you did a great job. Some people forget to get to that point, because when you get to that point, you can then say to your client, hey, we did a great job. Do you want us to do it again? And therefore they become a repeat customer. And if not, do you know anybody else who could potentially become a customer of ours? So you get a referral campaign and a repeat business campaign coming off the back of that. So that's a simple structure. Obviously, each of these elements, we could go deeper depending on your business, but essentially this is how we go about it. Now, when we bring this accounting information in here, there are only two numbers that really we need to focus on today. That is sales and costs. Why just those two numbers? Well, because we're going to calculate profit, and profit is the difference between sales and costs. Okay, it's not something we need to do, it's just the difference. So if we've got a sales figure and we've got a cost figure, we can identify our profit. Now, if we were to turn that into a graphical image, which is what I've tried to illustrate here with just not even data, I've just doodled it to say, well, that's what your graph could look like. You might say, well, that's okay, that's the truth. That's what's been happening over the last 6 months, 12 months. That's my graph, okay? And this graph represents what we do each day. Because if we were to say to ourselves, why are we running this business? Why are we building this business? Why are we working so hard? Why are we fighting to get this results? You often find the business is there to generate some money. In other words, profit. Well, great, you want money. Why? What are you going to do with it? Well, I want to feed my family. Great, you want to feed your family, so you got your family. And I want to live in a nice home. Great, you live in a nice home, and I want to drive a nice car. Not drawing cars very well here, but I want to drive a nice car. And I want to go on some holidays. Great, go on a nice holiday. And I want to do sports and activities and stuff. It's called life. I want to live a nice life. Great, that's brilliant. But unfortunately, along the way, you've got to pay some taxes and some VAT, and you might have to invest, and you've got other things, etc., going on over here. You might have a bit of debt to pay off, etc., right? So that profit has got to be split into two things that you want and things that are kind of compulsory that you have to pay along the way. All of that can be challenged, all of that can be organised. Accountants are very good at just organising that to make sure that you're paying the right amount of taxes, see if we can save some taxes and all that stuff that goes on. That's great because we're just trying to split that so that you get more of your money. Well, the challenge, of course, is the profit figure even enough in the first place? And the question would be what is that number? And you might say to yourself, well, okay, I'm going to put a number on that. I need £100,000 a year for me and my family. Just a number. Could be 150, could be 250, could be 500, could be a million. You pick a number and you say, that's what I want per year. And you say, well, that's the number I want. Well, have you tested that? First of all, have you tested that? Have you tested that number to make sure that it fits your lifestyle? Because sometimes what happens is it fits your lifestyle because that's your cost of living. I've got a mortgage to pay and I've got bills to pay and heat. I've got to heat the home. I've got kids and they need school costs and school fees or whatever it is you're paying, petrol for your car and holiday fund and Christmas fund. And you work out all your money and you go, oh, well, I need 100 to pay all those bills to stand still. Okay. What about all the things that make you happy? What about all the things you want to do? Well, I'd love to go on holiday a bit more. Great. I'd love to take up motorbike riding. I'd love to play a musical instrument. I'd love to eat out a little bit more. I'd love to experience this. I'd love to experience that. Whatever that is. Well, are they on the list? Well, no, because the 100 covers that. Well, what else do you need? Well, you might find, actually, you need 200,000 so that you can do all of the things that you are doing, plus all the things you would like to do. And there's the first part of the gap. We get fixated on the money that we need to take each month to feed the family. And it becomes a need to earn that money rather than a want. I need to earn this per month minimum because I've got bills to pay. So you take that money and you put it into your personal account and you pay your current bills and you get to the end of the month and you go, okay, I've got no money left, but I've paid everything. Okay. You might have saved a bit, but you've got a budget, a personal budget. But you haven't thought about the extra things that you would like. Have a think about it. How do we think about it? Well, we look at our why. What do we want? What do we want first? What do we want out of life over the next 5 years? What do we really want to achieve? And some of the things that you want are going to relate to family. They're going to be relative to maybe one of your children of reaching a certain age, going to university or changing schools or stuff like that, or leaving home. These things create a change in our lifestyle. As a business owner, as a parent, you might say, well, when they go off to university, I'll have my time back, or when they go off to school, I'll have my time back. And then I'd like to use that time to do, or I'd like to do that. Or you might have some other projects you're working on. Maybe you've bought a house and you're coming towards the end of your mortgage. You go, I just want to pay my mortgage off, and then I'll use all the money that's left over for holidays. And I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas at you that might make you think about your why, because if we know your why, we can then put a budget number that we need for it rather than the budget number that we have to have for it. Okay. Now, this is the beginning of the gap, because now we know the level of money that we want to achieve, and we can say to ourselves, right, actually, I'm here, but I really want to be here. That's a figure. I've put a number on a piece of paper that means something to me. If I had £200,000 a year for the next 5 years, I would be able to tick off everything on my list of dreams. Tick, 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 everything. And don't be put off by the number that I'm just choosing. I'm just putting a number there that might resonate with you. That number is irrelevant. It's just a made up number. You pick a number. You pick a number that suits you and you go, that's the number I'm after. Great. But it's got to match all the things that you want to do, because you're going to send it to work. You're going to do something with it. Okay, you're going to place it somewhere. But the gap happens right back here at the beginning. Right back here in this bit here. Because when we bring our sales into our business, the difference between the sales and the cost figure is our margin. And a lot of businesses don't understand their margin and relate it all the way back to the next sales invoice. The very next sales invoice that you produce will have a sales total to it. That sales total on that sales invoice will be part of the graph going forward. So you might say, I'm going to sell more. Great. And your graph is going to go up because you're fixated with this sales target. And your figures might have calculated that you need to do, I don't know, £3 million this year of sales to get that line up to there because you believe that that will give you the lifestyle that you want. And that's brilliant. It's a start. But I said there's a gap. The gap is, this is what I need, my why. This will serve my list of goals and be able to help me achieve my goals. And this is the next sales figure. But in that singular invoice will also be some costs. But if you notice, we never raise a cost invoice. What we do is we raise a sales invoice and work out what that should be. And maybe from that you said, well, I've got a team of people who do the work, and therefore I'm going to take an hourly rate and I'm going to predict they do X number of hours. So that's going to give me a figure. Or you might have a series of products that you sell and you go, well, I'm going to sell 10 of those and 3 of those, and that's going to give me a price. And so it's going to be a product or a service or a combination of the two, or some sort of model that you've created that you package together and you put a package of things together and you go, yeah, we'll sell those. But the cost for those is lost in your day-to-day costs. Your monthly wage bill, your suppliers sending you costs, your overheads, they're all happening. And so they get fed into your accounting system here, but they don't really get attached to the individual sales invoice. And therefore, what can happen is you create a sales price for that invoice. And unless and until you've matched it up to the costs, over here, you lose margin. I'll give you an example because I've actually been helping a client realize this for himself recently. What he does is he prices up a job and doesn't really understand his margin, but he comes in at a price, but he knows that there is a difference between that price and what it costs him. And therefore, when he has a small job, the gap between £10,000 invoice and what he thinks it's going to cost to do that £10,000 invoice, he can reconcile in his mind to being about 50%. So he goes, okay, for that £10,000 invoice, we're going to make £5,000. Great. But then he'll also get work that are considerably more. Like he's got one at the moment, which is £350,000 as a sales invoice, as a project. So the £10,000 project and the £350,000 project have a big gap between them just in terms of their numbers. And therefore, if the £10,000 is at 50%, surely the £350,000 should also be priced at 50%. Well, on inspection, we realised it wasn't being priced at 50%, it was being priced at 30%. And the reason that this margin was slipping is that £350,000, even at 30%, was a decent amount of cash that related to what he needed versus what he wanted, and he believed in his mind it was about the right number. And what can happen between our sales process and our actual why we want the money to fulfill our lifestyle is that we want this much money up here, but our sales delivers this much profit down here. And there's a gap between what we want and our profitability. And that gap is hidden in two numbers. One, the number of what we need versus what we want. And so we need to bring in our why. And the gap between the single sales invoice we produce here that looks pretty good on paper and the actual calculated margin we need over here to be able to deliver the results that we want. Does that make sense? And therefore, to close that gap, you need to look at the data that's going on with the invoices in your next quotation and the actual accounting system with the data you already have to show you what you were doing, and then project forward what you think that should be going forward so that the gap between sales and costs becomes bigger and therefore the profitability goes up, and that profitability matches not what you need but what you want. So what you want drives it, because we say, well, actually, I don't want 100 anymore. I want 200. I want to double my profits. So in order to double my profits, that line has to go up. And in order for that line to go up, inevitably, the sales have to go up. So the costs will go up. Well, how about we increase the sales, but increase the margin between those sales as well? And if we increase the margin, and we increase the sales, you'll get to your goal a whole lot faster. That then brings you full circle back to the beginning of the conversation, and that is if you're chasing your ideal client who loves what you do and is a perfect fit for what you do, then you can deliver your very best service to them, deliver your very best products to them, and they will appreciate that because they're an ideal client, and therefore they will pay the price that is necessary to be able to deliver that for you to achieve your goals. And if you achieve your goals, you will be more excited, you will be more enthusiastic, you will probably put more energy and effort into delivering an even better service to the clients that you're bringing on. So your business will improve dramatically if you bring to the front of the table the reasons why you're doing it, and you get excited about that. You get excited about your goals. You physically change the actions to achieve your goals mathematically so that the next invoice goes out with a little bit more price to it. You chase up the right customers, which will drive a better marketing campaign, and the whole business gets better and better and better, because what we're doing is we're closing the gap between our expectations over here and our expectations here for the very next invoice that's coming in. That's something that I've had conversations with clients forever, but more recently there's been several clients that I've been having that detailed conversation with them where I'm getting them focus on that. I've recently just taken on a couple of new clients fresh into our world, and they were asking me to help them price up a few things. And their response to things is, well, I want to be reasonably priced. I want to be competitive in the marketplace. Somebody down the road's doing something different, metaphorical road, is doing something different. I want to be cheaper, but over here they said, but I want to be better. And the whole thing was a gap. I started by saying, what do you want? And as soon as we start understanding what you want, not what you need, what you want, then we can work backwards. Because you're either going to have thousands and thousands and thousands of customers coming through on a very cheap price to achieve your goals, or you're going to have slightly less customers coming through on a higher price, which is then easier to manage to still achieve your goals. But we've got to understand that whole process all the way through. Detailed, complex, not complicated, just complex, to understand which part of it. Perhaps put in the comments which bit you need to look at next, and ask some questions. And if you want to find out how we do this and can actually help you, where I can apply this to your business, get in touch. All the details are in the description. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video.